Hello. If you haven't watched any of the other videos, my name is Jason Bowman. I'm the Director of SEO and Analytics at Inceive Interactive. This video is specifically going to walk through XPaths and how we could use those to utilize the query optimization checker here, and really how it, let's call it, supercharges the entire tool. First off, to be abundantly clear, you don't actually have to use this feature. If you leave it blank, it'll just scrape the entire page's content and it'll look for the queries that are driving clicks and impressions to individual pages and compare it to everything that exists on the page. This is not the greatest way to do it. Reason being, there's a lot of things that are on a page. There are things in the main nav, there are things in the footer nav that exist on every page of the site. There might be a left navigation that has or that exists on several pages, and all those secondary content areas are not valued in the same way when it comes to ranking considerations for that individual page as the main content. So this gives us a little bit more ability to specify really what do we want to compare? What do we want to compare the queries that are currently driving clicks and impressions for the page to on the existing page, right? So there's a few different examples here. We have examples of how to do or how to extract the H1 of a page, how to extract the title of a page, and then we have some custom examples. So these I call them static scrapes, just because these should exist on any page where there is a title tag or where there is an H1 tag. But I also give this syntax, which can be used for what I'm considering a custom scrape, meaning you have to customize it on a site-by-site basis. It's all dependent on how the HTML and CSS IDs classes are set up on a site-by-site basis. So there is no way to functionally say one extraction would work across the board. And that is what I'm really going to walk through in this video. But just to clarify, again, if you put title in this right here, what this is going to do is it's going to scrape every page, or at least every page in the data set. Within here, I identify I want to choose the top 40 pages. You could do more, you could do less, but it's going to scrape the title of the page and it's going to compare it in the resulting data set. This is also going to be in the various posts and things, but unfortunately right now, this does not have JavaScript rendering functionality. So if your website or your client's website is based on some kind of client-side rendering technology, really any kind of like React-based framework or anything like that, and it does not use any kind of server-side rendering, unfortunately, this process here is not going to work in its current form. I may try to add JavaScript rendering on in the future, but again, as I'm recording this video, it does not, unfortunately. And I will, of course, release an update if it does end up having it sometime in the future. So for this example, I'm going to show you how we could do some extractions on this website, on the Inceive Interactive website, of course, my agency's website. So if we come here, if we look at the blog, these are actually the extractions that are already in there. I could definitely do some on some random blogs too to test my skills to see if I can really do it live here without messing up. We could potentially get to that. But looking at this, what we could actually do here, first off, if we actually look in here and we go into the inspect module and we check those static ones to see if they really work, you could go // title, and you'll see it highlights the title tag. So that means that is going to extract this right here. You can put the extractions, and you should put the extractions into right here to verify that what it is kind of highlighting is in fact what you're looking for. It's a good way to test it out before actually using it within the tool. So you see that gets us the title. We can do the H1 as well. It does actually look like we have a few different H1s on these pages, which is interesting. Should talk to my team about that. At the end of the day, Google has said that's not a big deal if you do have multiple H1s. I do think Google says a lot of things that might not be the absolute truth, and they always kind of frame it in a way that leaves for a lot of kind of subjective insights, but we won't get into that right now. So we do see if we did the H1 here, it would be pulling 3 different H1s because we do have three H1s existing on this page. Nevertheless, those are the 2 out of the box ones. Then we have these ones over here. So what this is actually doing, and this is actually a really interesting thing you could try out, is if you want to understand whether or not your keywords that are driving clicks and impressions are actually in the first paragraph of a piece of content. So that could be valuable, right? That's probably the most prominent area of the page to really show like what the page is about and really have a lot of weight in Google's eyes, just because it is the most likely to be seen and read by the user. Again, I'm not going to speculate on like Google search ranking factors. I'm just trying to state how you could go about doing this. So if you don't agree with that, completely fine. But if we're actually looking at this here, what I normally look for is something that is wrapping the entire page, but not the main navigation in places like that. So it looks like this is, what else do we have here? Then we have entry content. So entry content does look like it's wrapping up there. Let's go down to the bottom of the page. There is Sam K in all of his glory. And it does look like it ends right at the bottom of the page. So we're not getting any of that secondary content. We're not getting the footer nav. We're not getting the main nav. We're just getting the body of the page, which is exactly what we're looking for. So if we do this, what we're looking at here, if we go back to the format, which again, I'm kind of cheating because it says what it's going to be right there, but I'm going to explain it anyways. We see we want the HTML element at the CSS selector. That could be an ID, that could be a class, and then the name. So here's the easiest way to do this. So we got the div, so we know it needs to be / HTML element, which is div, this, at, and then I don't even like typing these just because there could be weird spacing. If there's 2 spaces and you put 1, it's not going to work. I just click into it, highlight it all, copy it, drop it in there, and then close it. And now we have our XPath expression. Kind of a hack. I didn't really teach you like all the ins and outs of doing XPaths, but this almost always works. I've been using this methodology for years and years, and I could count on one hand the amount of times that didn't work, and it was for very, very nuanced reasons. So again, this should work most of the time. And this, you might have noticed, doesn't actually get us the first paragraph. What it gets us is the entire body of the post. And what we're actually looking for here is only the first paragraph. So all we're going to do is a very, very, very simple adjustment, is that you could do // and you could do the HTML element that exists within it. So the div class entry content is functionally the parent. And what we're looking for is the subclass that we want, or the HTML element that's nested within that parent. So that's going to be P, which should have worked. Maybe it's, oh, sorry about that. You do not wrap it in brackets. The brackets go around the numeric value. So the P, you see there's 63 of them because there's 63 P tags. So if we ran it like this, we would be running the scrape against the 63 P tags. So we know it would be paragraphs within the text, which could be valuable. However, we just want the very first one. So how we're going to get the very first one is simply by specifying 1. So what we now have is an extraction that solely will look at this first paragraph in blog posts. I'm making a generalization right now. Usually on a website, every page that follows the same template it's gonna work for all of them. You do want to verify though. So what you might want to do is you might want to come into here to another blog post and just verify it's still the same, which it almost always is unless it exists on multiple templates, which would be very, very hard to manage. Like websites really don't do that intentionally, at least. Sometimes it happens over time because they make changes and they don't move some pages off of an old template, but this works as well, as you can see here. So I guess we could try to do this really quick to really test how well I know this. Let's just type in something random. I don't know. Best blue shoes. So let's see here. Marge. So let's see if we could do that same thing for this blog post. And I know this might be hard to believe, but I swear, never seen this blog before in my life. I did not plan this out beforehand. We will see how this goes. I know you might not believe me, but I did not. Okay, so the same thing here. We're going to want to look for something that's specifically wrapping the body of the page. Oh, that's like the worst thing it could have possibly be, just an article. So go down to the bottom. Where was that article tab? The main. Trying to find. Div class. Okay. Div class equals content. Looks like it may be the one we need. Let's go back up and look at the top again. Yes, that does look good there. So what we're going to need is / div. This is another class. It could also be an ID. It really could be anything, just any kind of element that's specified within the HTML element you could use for this. It just happened to both be class. It's a very popular CSS selector, right? Div at class. Oh, I was writing it in the wrong area. Okay, so we got that part, and it should be just as easy again. We could just do P and A1. Perfect. It works there. So again, this should work on most sites. Again, we could do, I'm not associated with this site in any capacity, so I don't have its Google Search Console property. So I, of course, couldn't actually run this website within the tool. But if you did, for example, do work on this website and you had access to the Google Search Console, you could use this tool and analyze the first paragraph of text within all of the different blog posts. I think that's about it. As I've mentioned in the other videos, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Most of the direction will be featured either within these videos or the accompanying blog post. Thanks. Bye.